Okay, thank you for joining me. I'm super excited that you're here, and I have a great presentation for you. Um, let's go ahead and get started. Um, Okay, sorry. I thought I'd move this to the front. Okay, so welcome. I wanted to talk to you about homeopathy for animals. I've had some requests, including Mr. Jim, so I'm glad you were able to join us, Jim, about homeopathy for animals because it's an amazing medicine. And you're just going to see how it gently heals and helps our pets and our livestock, even our fish, whatever we need to treat. And I have just found that it's been amazing. And quite honestly, it's really saved us a lot of money in vet bills once I started learning this. And our animals are healthier, right? And so I always say the foundation of any, for a person and for an animal is nutrition. So of course we're going to make sure that we're giving the right nutrition, but I'm not going to go into all of that. I'm going to focus on the homeopathic side because that's my passion. Um, okay, so I do want to read a disclaimer. This presentation is intended for informational purposes only and does not provide medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment for any health condition. The content presented should not be used as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. And of course, that includes for vets and for our animals. Before making any changes to your healthcare regime, it's important to consult with a qualified healthcare provider. Do not discontinue or adjust any prescribed medication without seeking the guidance of your physician or healthcare professional. Always consult a healthcare provider if you have any questions about a medical condition or treatment. And I just want to make sure if there's any issues with my slides, if you can't see them, please let me know. Go ahead and speak up for that. So this is our great, she's not a Great Pyrenees, she's a Colorado mountain dog, but she's part Great Pyrenees. Her name's Powder. This was taken today, and we spend a lot of time in our neighborhood. There's a lot of horses, but I don't personally own horses. We have a lot of chickens, we have cats. But we spend time going and petting and getting to know all the horses around. And this one's name is Joey, and he's quite the character. So wanted you to see what my one of my pet loves is. Okay. So what is homeopathy? Most of you pretty much know, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that, but it is homeos means similar and pathos means suffering. So homeopathy has been efficacious for over 250 years without side effects. It's gentle, effective, and safe for all sizes. So that means even for all different animals and people. Um, and it is like cures like. Oh, I forgot to say, homeopathy may be used during pregnancy, which is huge, newborn to elderly animals safely. So that is really important because even with herbs, you do need to be careful with some herbs when you're giving them to pregnant individuals. And like I said, you can immediately give it to a newborn baby as well as to a newborn animal. And we'll talk about that. There's even some homeopathy we can use to support an animal that is, struggling after being born. And let me see if I can mute. Okay, like cures like is one, it's based on the principle that substances that cause symptoms in healthy people can be used in extreme dilution to treat illnesses that cause that same symptom. So I use the example of coffee. So coffee in, its natural form is going to make you feel wired. But homeopathy made from coffea cruda, which is the scientific name, is going to help you actually sleep better and feel better. Hi, Stace. Good to see you. um, So, just so you know, a lot of times people will say, "Oh, I'm using homeopathic remedies," and they don't realize that homeopathy is a subset, is a particular type of medicine that's overseen. We'll talk about it by the FDA. And so, normally, how you can tell is you'll see the two words like coffea cruda, and then you'll see a number and then a letter. So, could be 30C is a very common remedy, and you've probably seen these at Sprouts or somewhere like that. So homeopathy is it's gentle, safe, and uh, it, it's a healing that works with your body to restore itself and improve your overall health, which is so important because so many times I hear of animals even going and they're put on medications for the rest of their life. And instead of healing them, they become dependent on it, and then they might start to have side effects. So, our goal is to get to use homeopathy for a short period of time so that the animal or person can heal. It is safe to use even with very small children and pets. It has none of the side effects of conventional medication. It is affordable and is made from natural substances. And so the big thing is that I always tell people that it's not chemically synthetically made. And so when we put chemicals in our body that are from pharmaceuticals, those were created by chemists that actually mimic a lot of times what we find in nature. So this is not going to do that same thing. Your body will actually recognize it because it's usually from a mineral, a plant, an animal, other substances that it's going to be a little easier to understand. There are thousands of positive outcomes and preclinical and clinical studies. And so here's in PubMed, there's over 227 pages, and there's more even now. This is an old information of studies that have been done on homeopathy. Of course, most of that's done overseas and not in the United States, but it is still very credible. Homeopathy has been clinically effective for over 200 years for acute and chronic conditions. So be thinking of your animals, some of the things that you might want to help. And it is federally recognized form of medicine regulated by the FDA. So unlike supplements, supplements are not regulated by the FDA, but they have standards for homeopathy because it has to be very precise and exact. So I always make sure not that homeopathy should not be confused with Chinese medicine, essential oils, supplements, herbal medicine. All of that is wonderful, and it's confusing because some homeopathy comes from herbal medicine, but it's not herbs. Okay. Um, so homeopathy stimulates healing gently, and it stimulates the body to heal itself by triggering the body's natural response, a natural system of medicine, and uses highly diluted substances. It works on a physical and emotional level. And we'll talk about a little bit more sometimes with this, the 6 and 30s is going to be a little bit more on the physical level. The 200s can be more on the mental level, but that isn't always the case. So normally what we do is we look at making how homeopathy is made, and it's not usually made in somebody's home, even though the word home is in there. So homeo means like or similar. What it is done, it's made in a lab normally, and they usually start with a tincture of a substance, or they may have to use trituration, which is where they're going to hand grind it up. For example, minerals, certain substances have to be ground up, and then they are put into a tincture usually. So here you've got your plant, your mother tincture here, and that's usually the substances in there for 2 to 4 weeks at least. It depends. And most of these homeopathic pharmacies are very careful to ensure that there's no pesticides, anything that shouldn't be in there. And then they take, 99 drops of pure alcohol and 1 drop of that mother tincture, and they succuss it. And so then they take 1 drop and they put it in the next vial with 99 drops of pure alcohol, and they bring it till it is very dilute. So you don't have a lot of the original substance in there. So we can use things that you wouldn't normally be able to take, like an herbal substance like belladonna, which would be toxic in its gross form. Okay, why does it work for animals? So this was so much fun because I was able to get a lot of fun pictures for this. Animals respond quickly and it's non-toxic. And I have found that because animals are usually a little bit cleaner, not as many toxins and things that they've put into their bodies like we have, they usually respond quickly, treats the whole animal, not just the symptoms, but we often treat by looking at some of the symptoms. What are we seeing? And then watching, observing our animal. We usually know, my dog isn't acting right. What's going on? He's not eating. He hasn't eaten in a day or two. What's going on? So they're going to start giving you those symptoms. It can be used for acute and chronic issues. And we'll talk about it, but usually with acute issues, we usually give at least 4 doses of a homeopathic remedy. And if that one doesn't work, we can move on to something else. And we can give that fairly quickly, especially if it's an acute and emergent issue. Now, if it's a chronic issue, it can take longer. So we say, can you give it, a month or two? Can we see if this is going to help heal this person? Or this animal. It supports balance and not suppression. So, for example, with antibiotics, I wanted to use the example my dog's ears. I had a lab for years. She lived almost 15, and she would get reoccurring yeast infections in her ears. I don't know if anybody's ever had that issue. Um, but what would happen is the doctor labs tend to have really deep ear canals. And so the vet gave us antibiotics. Oh, anytime that this pops up, just give her the antibiotics. So we would continuously give her the antibiotics for years and years. And so did it really heal that issue? Not really. Instead, what it was doing, it was just suppressing it and then it would pop up again. So once I used homeopathy, we used it a few times when it happened, and then it didn't happen anymore. We didn't need the antibiotics, we didn't need the homeopathy. But if it did reoccur, she started doing the shaking her head and all of that. We would just go get the homeopathy, give a few doses, and take care of it instead of dealing with it on a regular basis. So that's what I love about it. Homeopathy treats symptoms, so it can be used to treat similar issues in humans and animals. So if you see something is going to help with like digestion in a human, then it can be used for an animal. So a lot of times I have the same vial and I can give it to both. So it's so inexpensive. I don't have to go and go to the pet store and buy something because I already have my homeopathy available. Um, Oh, I was gonna say in the chat, can everybody put down if there is a particular issue for your pet and name what or your animal, what kind of animal it is that you've either dealt with or that you're concerned about. And we'll take a look at that after I stop the recording, if that's all right. But I just want you to be thinking as we're going through this. So dogs
Hmm.
and cats, of course, are the most common that most families have. And with treating dogs and cats, you can put some animals will easily take the pellets. So you can put it in their cheek, just put it in their mouth, and especially while they're sleeping can be the best time. Just going over there to your dog, your cat, if they allow you to, and put it directly the little pellets right there in their mouth can be one of the easiest ways. Some dogs and maybe some cats. My 2 cats are feral, so I definitely don't have interaction with them. But some cats will come and get the pellets right out of your hand. So that can be an option. Also, you can use a dropper bottle. I kind of have a picture of there's all different sizes. It doesn't really matter the size, where you can add in 5 to 10 pellets with 1/3 alcohol about and 2/3 water. And that's going to be if you want to keep it around. For example, I have a lame animal one that I keep because we've had a lot of issues with my dogs and my chickens having issues with limping around or whatever it might be.
Mm.
So I want to have that around for a while. So I'm going to put the alcohol in it. The other option you have is just to put it in water. But if you do put it in water with that dropper bottle, I would put it in the fridge and only keep it for about a week or so because if you're putting it in your pet's mouth, we just don't want it to develop anything. So that's why I say just put it in the fridge. Don't keep it that long. But if you know, okay, they have a cough, I'm going to be treating this cough, then you can go ahead and put it in the fridge. The other thing you can do is maybe put it in like bone broth. Barbara and I were talking about this yesterday. You can put it in bone broth or possibly some food if you need to, however you can get it in. I know my dog, when I used to put the pellets in her mouth, she would spit them out. So it was challenging. You can also put it in their water. What I do when I do their water is I do put it in a little like small dish and see if they will dose themselves instead of putting in the big water dish. And so that can get a little complicated, especially if you have animals sharing that water dish. So it would be, I feel like it's better if you can get it into the animal knowing that they got it for sure. So some issues that might be helped. So urinary issues. So I had a lady contact me not too long ago, and her cat was having urinary issues. And the cat has had regular UTI issues, and she contacted me and I said, yes, just go ahead, try the Cantharis. Cantharis is for UTIs and urinary issues, and see if it will take care of it. And the cat was also having some tummy issues, kind of like bloating. So we went ahead. I said, go ahead and give a dose of lycopodium and see if that helps. And she said, yes, she'd been restless and not sleeping well. And all of a sudden, the cat felt a lot better. So it was just amazing. Like, instead of having to take the cat to the vet and get put on medication, we were able to help the cat heal well. So skin conditions. We have a lot of cats and dogs, especially dogs, that seem to have skin issues and allergies. Sometimes it's probably from our toxins or their food, but we can treat some of that as well. That's going to be more long term. So that's going to be more of our chronic issues. It might take a little while. Injuries. So that's a major thing that we have had happen. Our dog one time was in the back of our vehicle, and we forgot that she was leashed in because she kept jumping over and trying to get to the kids. So we had leashed her down, and when we opened it up, she ended up jumping, and it flipped her around, and she ended up landing with her tail and her backbone on the back of the boat in the hitch. And so she was really injured, and she was really hurting. And so we started treating her, and we gave her time off because she's a working dog. We just had her stay inside. And I treated her with the lame animal one. And right away she started responding and improving and healing. And so we gave her time. There were nothing was broken, anything like that. If something was broken, we would have taken her to the vet. So I always say, please use your own wisdom on if you need to take an animal to the vet or if they need care. But sometimes you can even delay it. Like, let's say, you have an animal that's getting sick on a Saturday. You're like, maybe I can keep them going till we can get a regular appointment on Monday, right? With homeopathy, and then take them in. But also, if you have to take them to even the emergency vet, you can give them pellets on the way and even in the waiting room to help calm them down, help with the anxiety, help with the fear, help with the pain, whatever the trauma is that's going on. Post surgery. So we usually encourage arnica for post surgery and calendula in potency. And you can also use calendula in an ointment, which calendula is from a flower, on the area that is hurt. Food poisoning. So that's a big one. I had somebody say, oh my gosh, their dog ate something. I can't remember what it was. And I'm like, just give them arsenicum. They will be fine. And actually, I had somebody contact me, their little boy today, guess started licking an egg that had stuff on it that they were concerned about. I said, just give them arsenicum and observe them. They'll probably be okay. Dental issues. How many of your pets have had dental issues with their gums, with their teeth? Again, I do encourage raw bones for dogs if you can, the big ones, to help with that. But sometimes you have a tooth abscess. So you could look at heparin sulf. You could look at some of the cell salts for the gum issues. Ear infections, we talked about already. Ticks. So if you do have a dog that comes in contact with a tick, obviously you're going to want to pull it off, but you can also give Ledum, and Ledum helps prevent any issues down the road. We had a situation where we had some missionaries over, and um, we were getting ready to serve a meal to do some fundraising for them. And the kids were outside in November, and they were playing soccer, and they ended up hitting a hornet's nest. And the hornets had been hibernating, and they came out very, very angry. And so they stung a whole bunch of kids, the adults, and then they stung my dog all over. She was just covered. And of course, what I did is all the kids were coming in screaming and crying. I'm like, what? Oh my gosh. So I started treating them with Ledum and a lot of them Apis, because I didn't want, some of them were having allergic reactions. But then also, someone kept coming to me, your dog, your dog. And so basically, she had gotten stung right on her eye, and it was swelling shut. And so I was like, I don't have time to give her anything. So I think I had to give it to somebody else, because I had triage, right? And so we finally got it, gave it to the dog, and within minutes her eyes weren't perfect, but the swelling where she could actually open her eyes. So that's how quickly it can work. Within 15-20 minutes, her eyes were better. Um, uh, oh, joint issues. So arthritis. I know I treated my lab for quite a while with arthritis, with the arthritis protocol with roost tox and bryonia, which really helped her. You can help with issues like kennel cough. Bryonia is a good one to start with, but it depends on the cough. Antimonium tart. Let's see. Okay, so this is next. We're going to move on to chickens and poultry is misspelled. Sorry about that. I was throwing these together today. That is, I know that Anna has birds, and several of us have chickens. So this was my son years ago when one of our favorites, Q-tip, got. I can't remember if that's when, I think a hawk went after her. So she was, unfortunately, let her go. She was our smallest chicken, so she was a bantam hen, and so you can't see because he has the towel over it, but she ended up getting injured. So it's definitely, you can definitely use it for chickens. It is a little more challenging. I'm just going to tell you, trying to get it in their beak, right? Jamie, you've probably done it as well, right? Um, trying to get it in them. So normally what I
Yes.
do is I put it in their water. So normally what we suggest is if you can isolate the injured or sick animal, I put them in a dog crate separate from because ours, we let them kind of roam free. They free range every day. So I put them in their own dog crate, and then I give them their own food and then water, and put the homeopathic pellets in there. I will also do the dropper. Like with this one, I gave her aconite for the shock, and I gave her arnica because she had actually been, injured. And then I think, did I give her Staphylococcus aureus, I think, for the this was quite a while ago, the scrapes from the hawk. And then we did use some calendula to put on that area to make sure she didn't get infected or anything. You can put with any kind of animal or even people, you can put on calendula, a calendula hypericum diluted tincture, or you can put on the salve or the balm to help with that, or the lotion. So like I said, with poultry, some of the issues are stress. Sometimes there's stress being moved around. And I know that when we've lost birds in the past, my chickens seem to like grieve. And so things like that, injuries, lameness, we've had chickens dropped by kids that were over here, and then they couldn't walk on their leg. And it's really hard when you only have two, right? So we would separate them and give them the lame animal one. Influenza, birds can get influenza. And at one point, we thought that we had Marek's disease. And so we went ahead and treated the whole flock for Marek's disease, because one of them was acting strange and doing the head over like this and the wing kind of flapping around. And so we thought we isolated that one and then treated them all for that issue. Also, I have in the past, when we had cases of bird flu right in our area, I have treated them prophylactically or in advance of actually them being sick, just trying to make sure they're healthy. The other thing is parasites. I don't know if any of you have dealt with parasites, but we use Cinna 6X for parasites. And you can do that for, I kind of do it, I like to do it in the spring and just kind of do the whole house, all the people and all the animals. So the dogs, and the chickens. I don't really do the cats just because, like I said, they're they're out kind of running wild. But I do everybody at once for about a week or two. I put that in their water to kind of help with any parasite issues we might be having. There's even homeopathy for egg bound chickens. So I wanted to show you, this is a sheet. I don't know if you can see it. It's laminated. I bought that online and it's front and back and it's all homeopathy for chickens. So I encourage you, whatever species you have, to have a resource for that, because there's going to be unique situations for poultry as compared to dogs or livestock, right? So you want to get to know what those particular issues are. I don't know of any of the other ones that have egg bound issues, right? Okay, and I also wanted to mention, here's one for dogs as well, dogs and cats, by Dr. Pitcairn, and I have that later on over as well in the notes. Okay, so what about horses, cows, and livestock? They are larger animals, but they still respond to homeopathy. And one of the things that I say is that if you have one of these animals, I would try to find a group to join, Facebook groups. There are quite a few Facebook groups. I don't know if you have found them, Jamie, that are in England or the UK, Australia, on sheep and goats, treating them with homeopathy. And so I would look for one of those groups, because if you do have an emergency, we can try the best we can. But if you're with a group that they are actually they have got to get their milk to market and they're trying to keep it as pure as possible, not use, um, antibiotics and all those things. They're going to be on top of the best of what's working for their herds. So I know there's a group in Scotland, I think, and a group in Wales for like sheep and goats and all of that. So I would join that, and also make sure you have a book on whatever species that you have in your on your property. So with these, again, you would isolate if possible the sick or injured animal and may treat the whole herd if needed. So I know that I was hearing about somebody that they had pink eye conjunctivitis going around. And so they just treated all their animals that they had, I think it was cows, with what they needed for pink eye. You can offer the pellet. Some of the animals, the horses might, might be open to that. But you can also get a spray bottle and put the homeopathy in there and shake it up kind of like you would succuss. And I would probably do at least 20 to 30 pellets just to make sure I had enough in there. And then you can spray their face area, their nose area. The other thing you can do is lift up their tail and spray underneath their tail that way. You can also put it in their water, but I just feel like some of those big horse tanks, it's like, I want to make sure I'm getting it into the horse, especially if it's something serious. You know what I'm saying? And the same thing with goats, especially if they have shared spaces. Um, Homeopathy can treat mastitis. And I was just talking to, oh, yeah, I was just talking to my friend Melissa, and she was saying it absolutely helped with mastitis. So we look at Phytolacca for that one. For anything that's glandular breast issues, that really helps. And so, like I said, hearing from these, I think it was a group in Scotland, they were talking about that they were able to definitely save a lot of money and save a lot of, because they have to throw out any milk that when they milk their goats or cows, and they've had to use antibiotics or some kind of medication, if they're doing the organic milk, they have to throw that out. So they lose that money. So it's really important for them to make sure that they are using something like homeopathy or something that's natural. You can help with diarrhea. All sorts of animals get diarrhea, right? Bloat can be an issue, and that would usually be like a podium, colds, those kinds of things, mange. any kind of wounds. I've seen that a lot with the horses that fight each other and then they start to develop, they get a little infection there where they've been fighting. And even newborns. So if you do have an animal that's born, no matter what species, one of the remedies that can help is carbo veg. If it's struggling to breathe or it's blue as they're trying to get it to keep going, that one can be really helpful. And even if they are exposed to poison such as snakes. So I did hear, I think Joette had a podcast about a horse that got bit by a rattlesnake. And they had the vet come out, and the vet did everything they could. And then the horse would decline until they gave it the homeopathy. And I think they were using the lachesis for that. So we have rattlesnakes around here. So I do carry that one around because my dog tends to get into stuff, right? So I want to make sure I'm prepared. And she tends to be very curious. Okay. So I also included small animals, reptiles, and exotics. So you would do the same kind of thing. Place the pellets or liquid with the dropper into the mouth if you can, or the animal's water. And you could also put on the food if you can get them to eat that piece of food. I prefer not to do the food if possible, if there's another way, but you can do food if that's the only way. So some of the things that you can treat, like indigestion. I've heard of I think it was it Gila or one of those reptiles that ate too much of the wrong thing and was having indigestion issues. So they gave it Nux vomica and it was able to feel a lot better. Mites, skin issues, arthritis, all these can be helped by homeopathy. Okay. Ooh, did I skip my fish one? Oh, there it is. Okay, we didn't go over fish, right? Okay, so fish and aquatic animals. So you can actually put homeopathy into the fish tank. You want to dissolve the pellets and shaking it strongly and place into water. If possible, to isolate the fish or the aquatic animal would be helpful, but it's not necessary. Examples of issues that homeopathy may support is shock of being moved from one tank to another or travel, fungal issues, low oxygen or poor water quality that's causing problems, infections, parasites, they can get parasites too, fin rot ulcers, and bacterial infections. Those are just some examples. Okay, this one's a little blurry. I apologize. We somehow messed up this slide. Forms and how to administer. So we talk about you either have the pellets, so that's the little white globule balls, or the liquid remedies. And you can put pellets into a bottle to make a liquid or aqueous dose, like we talked about. Best to give by mouth, also water or food under the tail, sprayed around the mucus area, or somehow getting it into their mouth, right? You can also put on their skin if you really needed to, like if there was an area. A lot of times with animals, they are so sensitive. I can start with a lower potency, like a 6C, and they usually respond very quickly. They're kind of like what I also look at with younger kids, kids that haven't had a lot of issues or have been on a lot of medication. Sometimes I'll start with a 6C, and then if you need to, you can move up. So, like we said, you want to try to give the remedy for 4 times. If it's an emergency situation, you could give it every few minutes. If it's something that's not too terrible and you're just trying to treat, you could give it every 2, 3 hours, 4 hours, and see how they do. And then you can go up to a 30C, which would be your next level, and then even a 200C. So you, like I said, for chronic issues, and then obviously, I'm sorry, for acute issues. For chronic issues, you would want to do that for a longer period of time, and we encourage you to take notes so that you can see if if the animal is improving, what's happening. Are they eating more? Are they drinking more? Do they have more energy? What's going on with them? So I have a motto in our family is don't be scared, be prepared. So this lady right here, she looks prepared and happy because we don't want to see our animals suffer in any way. So having the remedies with you is really key. So I always say if you're going to take your dog out for a walk, you're going to take your animals out and you're going to be traveling, you're going to be anywhere, that's where things are more likely to happen. Obviously, you'll have something in the home too, but to have remedies available, that's the important thing, because if you don't have anything, you often turn to things that may cause more harm in the long run, or you may, the suffering of the animal may last longer. And I definitely don't want that. I'm an animal lover. So I just wanted to go over some ones that we can use for animals. So aconite is a great one for shock, fear, sudden or onset issues. And when I used to teach kids classes, we would do an example where a dog got hit by a bike and the dog was injured, and there was also somebody that was watching the whole situation and ran to go help. So all three of those, the dog, the person on the bike, and the bystander, could all take aconite, because that was a big shock watching this accident happen, right? And so that will help your body. I just did these alphabetically. So apis is great for swelling, allergic reaction, bites, and stings. Arnica is a great one for injury, trauma, soreness, bleeding. And like we talked about, after surgery. Arsenicum album is a great one for poisoning, toxin exposure, food reaction. So if your dog gets into something while you're at the dog park and, finds a candy bar, or, something that they shouldn't have had, this is a good one to have on hand, because it can really help them. Belladonna can be for fever, inflammation, something that's red and angry. It could even be sometimes some really bad ear infections, something like that. Bryonia is a good one, like we talked about, for kennel cough or cough in any type of animal, especially if it's related to dryness and worse with movement. Bryonia is also good, like we talked about, with the arthritis. So arthritis, did I put that on there? Oh, I didn't put Roost Tox. Okay, Roost Tox is one of my favorites for arthritis and bryonia together. Calendula, you can take it in potency for wounds and tissue healing, and that can be for any animal. And then, like I said, you could also put it on topically with a salve. Cantharis is great for any kind of burns. And my one dog used to get a sunburn on her nose right there. So you can use it for a sunburn if they get into something and get burned. Also for UTIs. And then there's another one that if they're getting reoccurring UTIs, that we would give to kind of help uproot that issue. We talked about Cinna. Cinna 6X is what I like for parasites. Crotalis is good for rattlesnake bites along with lachesis. So I would probably alternate both of those. And obviously you're getting your pet or your person to the hospital, to the vet. But I tell you that we go camping a lot. We're out boating, we're out, hiking. And so if my dog got into something, I would want to have something on hand to give it to them right away to give them the best chance of survival. Because it could be an hour or two before you can get to help, and before you can even be seen sometimes at an ER, even a vet ER, right? Hepar sulf is one of my favorites. That we call it the homeopathic antibiotic. It's not anti-life. It doesn't kill your gut like antibiotics does, but what it does do is help with infections. It could be an eye infection. It could be a tooth infection. It could be something on the skin. It could be a respiratory issue. So that one's wonderful. And like I said, all of these can be used for humans as well as our animals. Ledum we talked about already. So that's for puncture wounds. So like that hawk that got my chicken Q-tip. That one can be helpful. Insect bites, ticks, mosquito bites. This will really help with mosquito bites when your kids or grandkids are crying because of a mosquito bite. Lycopodium is a great one for bloating, gas, bloat, digestive imbalance. And even this one can help with constipation as well as nux vomica. We talked about Phytolacca is great for mastitis. And then nux vomica is for anything that they overdo, right? They're overdoing too much. They ate too much. They got into something they shouldn't have. I mean, how many dogs do that, right? Or they got a hold of some kind of food that you're concerned about. As long as it's not, if you're concerned about the poisoning piece of it, then I would do the arsenicum. If it's more just they overate and they got into something, a whole bunch of something they shouldn't, they grabbed the steak off the kitchen table or something, then, and you know it's not going to be harmful, then that would be more the next vomica. Symphytum is a great one for bone injuries. We call that the bone knit remedy, and that actually helps heal any broken bones a lot faster. Fractures and healing also could help with sprains as well as ruta. Ruta is a really good one for sprains in animals. So like I said, I really recommend carrying a kit or specific remedies for your animals. This is one that Helios has that's for dogs, I believe specifically. I don't know if it's for cats too. It might just be animals. And this one actually has one Bach flower essence remedy. I don't own this one, but somebody brought it to class a few Saturdays ago. And the Bach flowers can help calm down, especially when there's a lot of fear, anxiety that the animal is going through. So that's a good one. Like I said, you can just grab that one. There's other ones too. And then I actually sell two different remedy packs that are just like mini essential oil packs. And so I put 10 remedies in each. And then Melissa has labeled my remedies each bottle, and then she's laminated a sheet to go with each one if you're interested. And that you can just throw in a backpack, and I carry those all the time, skiing, hiking, camping, wherever we're going. I just have those with me. And I've literally pulled it out and given it to myself, my kids, and my dog if something happened. So it's wonderful because you don't have to carry a lot. And especially backpacking, I don't like to. Okay. We talked about that. So for my mini kits, they're $40 a kit or 75 for both kits. So they each have 10 remedies each. This is an example of the laminated sheet that comes with the remedies just to make it easier. But also you can just go purchase your own and make it I just bought the little essential oil packs and I just put them in there and then I label them and then I put a sheet in there for my kids to know what to use for if there's an emergency. I always recommend having good resources. Here's one that I have. I have not read this one on the homeopathy for my horse, but I saw that on Amazon. Again, whatever animal species that you have, I would recommend getting that. And also, I have my book, Health is Wealth book, which is not showing up for some reason. That is on Amazon Kindle if you're interested. And like I said, that chicken one or whatever kind of animal that you have, if it's a bird, whatever you want to get that. Um, I also recommend, if you can, to have a good materia medica with you. And not that you're going to carry it around when you're hiking, but just in your house to use, because that way you can look up the homeopathic remedy. If you're looking and you're trying to decide between, do I need to give Nux vomica to my dog, or do I need to give arsenicum? They just ate something. It's good to read up on it and see the whole picture of it, and it'll kind of give you a better idea of it for your pet or yourself. If possible, like I said, join a group, there's homeopathic groups on just about everything. And then always contact a vet if you need to. There are homeopathic vets. I actually did an interview for a lady in Australia who's a vet I know, and I talked to two different homeopathic vets in the United States, and they both do distance appointments. I will say a lot of times people say, oh, I have a holistic vet. But the holistic vet that we have here locally, I talked to her and she personally doesn't use homeopathy. She knows a little bit about it, but she uses more Chinese medicine, which is great. I just don't know as much Chinese medicine. So if I were to have like a chronic issue, I'd probably contact a homeopathic vet so that I could be on the same same sheet of music as them. And then also I offer consults. I do this for animals and for people. So I charge only 77. It's an educational consult. So I help you and teach you. I'm a really big believer in teaching someone to fish, and giving them those skills for a lifetime. That's really important to me as an educator. So I work with you on finding options for your animal or person together. And then that comes with a full consult summary and then links where you can order stuff if we need to order. And then I also offer for humans, not for animals, hair and nail testing, with a lab that we send it off to in Arkansas for about $380. and it comes back with 4 to 5 bottles of homeopathy designed for that person and that situation. And here's my information if you need to contact me. So let me go ahead. I'm going to stop my share and stop the recording.